Mango, he's going to show us some pictures of his youth and motorcycles, and
we'll have to start with this one.
Yeah, start in order there.
My grandfather, I have to say, my grandfather was my influence in motorcycles. He raised me in a sidecar in Southern California.
Wow.
And in Santa Ana. I remember he had old Harleys, and he had a Bullet sidecar, and he had me rolling down the Santa Ana freeway in the 50s. I don't know.
That must have been so much fun.
I was probably 3, right?
Wow.
And I remember, though, he chapped me for years because I got tired. And he's just rolling down the highway, and, as a kid, the old Bullet sidecar, the wind in your face. So I just tucked down in the nose of this thing and take a little nap.
Yeah.
And my grandfather's rolling down Santa Ana freeway just in the wind, and he looked down there, and there was no grandkid. And he told me for years, he said, dude, how I ever got pulled over that motorcycle without having a heart attack, because he's like behind him, thought this kid's rolling down the freeway someplace. But anyway, this is a picture of my grandmother. I'm on my grandfather's Harley, so.
Wow. And what year would that Harley have been?
That's in the 40s, probably 47 or something like that.
Well, that bike's worth some money today, isn't it?
Oh man. He had every kind of motorcycle, Suzuki, water-cooled. He had, oh my gosh, Triumphs. He had BMWs. He was a big BMW guy way back in the day. He traveled.
What was his profession?
He worked for Santa Fe Railroad.
Oh wow!
Yeah, for 40-something years, and he actually traveled on motorcycle in every state in the Union, with the exception of Hawaii and obviously Alaska. But in the continental United States. Before he died, I remember he was 82 or 83, and he had 2 more states to go, and he jumped on his Honda Goldwing and made it happen before he passed away, and I think he passed away at 85 or something like that.
Good for him.
And but every state he traveled on his motor. He would go by himself. The guy was a trooper. He'd just kiss grandma goodbye and take off and go for wherever. And I had lots of medals from his road travels and motorcycle clubs.
One thing doing it when you're young, but when you're older, I mean, it kind of every bump you feel it, it's like
when the Honda Goldwing came out, 76?
Yeah.
And I remember when he bought the first Honda Goldwing, my brother and I, we were kids, and we'd come back and put a nickel on his Honda Goldwing. And I'm not sure what year he bought, but it was still one of the really early ones, before they were in the Aspen cage and all that. He had one of the first. But anyway, I remember my brother and I balancing a nickel on the valve cover of his Honda while it was idling. And we were so amazed at that, because growing up with Triumphs and Grandpa's and his Harleys, and he's got Grandpa Joe bike, and he could balance a nickel on a Honda Goldwing. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So yeah. So that was that, and then I went in the military. Oh, in Japan, while I was stationed in Japan, the motorcycle enthusiasts will appreciate this bike. That's a Z900 Kawasaki that I bought in Japan in 1974.
So you actually bought, while you're in the military, you bought a bike while you're in another country?
Oh yeah, I rode that in Japan. People talk about the Dominican and the Philippines being dangerous. You haven't lived until you bought that motorcycle and then took off in Japan with the millions of cars, and then you're on the opposite side of the road riding.
Well, I didn't know that opposite side of the road.
Oh yeah, it was just like, and it does, now I think you have to wait 6 months and do all kinds of.
You bought it brand new?
No, it was used in a. No, I didn't make enough money to buy a new one.
Yeah,
I remember
How much was that bike? You remember?
My young wife at the time was so pissed that I bought that bike. Oh yeah, she was pissed. But I actually brought it back. That's in the United States. I brought that bike back.
Oh really?
And that bike is in. And that picture was in El Centro.
What year is this bike?
74, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were nice back then.
Oh yeah, and you could buy one now in Dumageddon,
That bike?
Yep, they have a retro Z900 and Kimco Good motorcycle Kawasaki shop right now.
I had to go see it.
About 12,000 US. Yeah. So that was then, and then as I grew a little bit, I was at Miramar. This is a picture of me going to Miramar when I was at the flight line. I was going to work one day. And my buddies came up on the side of the.
So you're in the Navy here?
Yeah, Navy Air, and I was stationed at Miramar. And so I was going
You're
to work.
doing pretty well for a 20-something-year-old kid. You got this nice chopper, you know.
Well, you know, that was $2,000, that bike.
That's a lot of money back then.
Well, it was a lot.
You're making $300 a month.
Well, no, I was making more than $386 when I went in, when I was in on the Midway and that. This is
Did your wife approve that bike too?
6 years later. No, I was divorced by then.
Oh.
I was a Southern California surfer boy with long hair.
Now, where'd you get that bike at?
It was partially built on a guy that lived down on Coronado Island.
Looks like Easy Rider.
And I went and picked it up in Coronado Island, and I just finished the last of it. And
Now, this is another bike, or the same one?
that's the same one. No, that's the same
one.
bike. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And this is a picture of it. We'd do flight ops in El Centro, California. It was about 3 hours, 2.5 hours or something, over the San Diego mountains, east into the desert. And I would commute. The bike was a hardtail.
And there's no shocks on the back?
No, I was just saying, it is a hardtail. That's a picture of it with my gear on the back, and I would commute on that thing, which is probably the reason I had back surgery in 1998, because it just beat me to death. But, you know, when you're young and cool, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as you're cool.
Yeah.
It looks just like the Easy Rider bikes.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was I still am. I mean, 50-something years I've ridden motorcycles.
Now, you used to have a Harley Davidson dealership. Somebody told me that. Is that right? Or?
Well, in 1999, I went to work for a guy that bought a dealership in Bend, Oregon. They said he didn't know, him and his wife didn't know too much about bikes, but they thought they'd love to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So at the point, there was a Honda dealership, Hondas and SUVs and that. And in the corner of it, in Little Bend, Oregon, was like 4 or 5 Harleys for sale. And that was his Harley franchise at that time. So Steve, he's been here, Steve Foster. He came to visit me after all these years. He bought the franchise. A little noisy. They love their exhaust. He bought the franchise from Jack, the Honda owner, and I went to work for him in sales part time. And basically, he just needed somebody to run the dealership. Yeah. And then eventually he built a brand new dealership, huge dealership, and him and I penciled it out, service bays, everything to Harley standards, and put this dealership together. Beautiful dealership. Back in 1999, I worked from 99 to 2002 with him. My sister worked there. She was a clothing and leather apparel manager. And I had lunch with her one day. I was building another CMC, California Custom Motorcycle, but I was building another custom motorcycle shop because Steve and I kind of had a little outing there. And so I built Central Oregon Cycles, which is a custom, back in there when the choppers were big, and Jesse James and Eric Trotter were building all these bikes. So these guys were building $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 bikes. Wow. So we decided we're going to go in and build $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 bikes. So we started, you know, Central Oregon Cycles.
Maybe have pictures of that with you?
I don't, but you know what? My girlfriend has a T-shirt still from it, Central Oregon.
Man.
And so, we did this and started a motorcycle company. And I lost my sister during that time. That was a real tough one because she still worked at the Harley dealership. And we had lunch one day, and she had a couple of pops and then took off to go meet some guy on her Harley and fell off of it, hit her head, and she was gone. Okay. And that was a tough one for me. And you know, then we had this custom motorcycle shop for a couple of years and built beautiful Harleys. And I mean, you know, the Harley during that time, it was through the roof. People were overpaying $3, $4, $5 grand for,
I remember that.
You know, for all these Harleys and that. So it was a great fun time for riding and having fun. But then, you know, you don't go into business with 5 partners. You know, and so that didn't work out, and so we just moved on. We moved forward, and you know, I just went on and got into the car business for a little bit, and then started my own automotive glass company. Just me and myself. Didn't want employees. Anything after the Harley business, I didn't want employees ever again in my life.
It was like a franchise or something, or?
No, we started this bike shop, you know, but it was really tough on me. I carry my heart on my sleeve, and I take care of my employees. I take care of everybody slipping money, this and that. And at the same time, you know, hard to say, but you know, my manager, parts manager, and that's, you know, selling tires out the back door. You know, my clothing girls giving the stuff away as quick as my partner's wives are coming in and just loading up with clothes for Christmas and just saying, put it on our bill. So, you know, I was stressed to the nines. I just wanted, at one point, just wanted to jump off a flipping cliff. Yeah. So I got out of that business. And so after that, got into the, you know, automotive glass business. And that brought me to, I did that for 9 years and sold my little company and moved to, with my wife, to the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
And that brought you up to where we were. We decided.
Another very big truck.
Oh man.
And so,
and how about this ring?
as a businessman and entrepreneur, you think you're retired for good? You're never going to do another business, or
no? I'm tired. I think I worked for, you know, I started at 14 cleaning warehouses in San Francisco with a buddy of mine, cabinet makers warehouses, and I figured I added it all up when I said I actually worked for 47 years.
Wow.
And then my little Lynn tells me now, she goes, babe, you don't. I said, here, I'll go get this for you, and I'll go make coffee. She said, you stay here, baby. You work for 47 years. And we laughed. Yeah. She's a good soul.
That's great.
But it was a great run, and you know what? I'm happier than, like I said earlier, I would have never ever guessed that I would live in the Philippines on a hill with a family and a dog. But I am happier than happy can be with a great partner and great kids, and more than that, a lot of really good friends like yourself and Rob and all the guys that I've met here, retired guys, are just.
I found it so easy to meet people here, to meet guys our age. It's like, I guess we stand out, like, oh, there's another one of us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
but
it doesn't matter what country they're from, you know.
Right.
I mean,
But the great stories.
Yeah,
you know,
great
you hear
stories.
the great stories from like the other Mark that was the Apache pilot, you know.
I want to talk to him.
He's got some good stuff. He's just a good soul.
Yeah, I want to hear it because I've heard about him. I've met him, but I haven't talked to him in an interview.
Yeah, it's just fun. I think you're in a great deal doing your blog because, you know, there's so many guys that you don't know their past until you sit down there and you dig a little bit, and then it's like, it's just amazing.
This is also history that's going to be lost. You know, it's like if these guys don't tell their story, like 85-year-old John.
I've watched his stuff. It was amazing.
But it's going to be lost. You know, my friend Rafe that was with Led Zeppelin. You know, it's like, how would you ever think that this guy used to do after parties with Led Zeppelin? You know, and he's just. I just see him all the time, and he's just like that normal guy. But.
And here we were sitting in this little small village in the Philippines. Who'd have known?
Who'd have known? Well, anyway, I really appreciate your time, Mango. Great interviews, and thanks a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Read the comments. There'll be a lot of them in there.